Catnaw is absent, and if there are no objections, Alderperson Graff will sit in for him.
Did he seek an appointment?
I don't,
Yes.
I would assume not.
Check in.
No, he did not seek anyone to sit in his place.
So should we go with
To the
two?
matter.
Well, I mean, technically, if the elder person can choose who appoints them, subject to your approval. Otherwise, there's no one that takes their place. If he didn't ask for somebody, your ordinance says an alderperson may appoint another alderperson to take his or her place at any committee meeting, subject to committee chairperson's approval, for which the substitution is made.
Okay, so I think that would be pretty clear then that I would not appoint one. So if you want to start, just state your name.
Paul Mahler, Public Works Superintendent.
Mark Stott, Central Wisconsin BMX.
Bill Clendenning, Wood County Board and Town of Grand Rapids Board.
Tim DeSorcy, Finance Director.
John Klingforth from St. Luke's Lutheran Church.
I'm Chuck Gibbons from Lamprey and Associates, and also chairman of the St. Luke's Lutheran Church congregation.
Joe Eichstead, City Engineer. Scott Young, Fire Chief.
Adam Tagan, Community Development Director.
Krista Kuhn, Heart of Wisconsin, Chamber of Commerce.
Sue Schill, city attorney.
Scott Kellogg, Alderperson.
Joe Zerfel, Alderperson.
Shane Blazer, Alderperson.
Paul Spilsky, city clerk.
Zach Froink, Mayor.
Cindy Schlichting, Finance.
Lee Graff, Alderperson.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2, discuss request for proposal process for shared ride taxi service procurement and the responsibilities of finance committee members in the evaluation process as required by Wisconsin DOT.
This is basically just an informational meeting, something that we're required to do by the grant process. So the finance committee is basically the evaluation committee as well. So we're going to be going out for an RFP this year for our 5-year contract. So I sent you a bunch of lovely reading, the do's and don'ts, the requirements of what you have to do as the evaluation committee, just to familiarize yourself with what you have to do. I sent a timeline in there of what we hope to accomplish to have our bid process in the vendor net, which is where we have to post it so we can get our bidders ready and have their bids back to us. Basically, we're hoping to go with the same contract that we've used for the past, I don't know how many years you've used it, but I know it's been in place since I've been here. We're gonna go out for a 5-year contract again. There's not many things that we really can change on it. One of the things that we can change would be the hours that we service. I kind of would not like to change that because I really don't want to be servicing the after-hour bar crowd and things like that. Really, that's not the purpose of the grant anyway, and especially now that we do have some other cabs in the area, it would be nice to just let them handle that crowd. We would like to handle the people that need rides to doctor's appointments, to work, things like that, school, and that really is what the grant is intended for. One of the things that we would like to change this year in the grant is we would like to add a requirement that they have to have a taxi management software plan system for their business. The mayor suggested that we have that in there, and we are going to implement that change. Other than that, unless you have some suggestions for changes to our contract, we're going to pretty much leave it the same as what it is. We're going to require that they maintain the maintenance on the vehicles and that they do the reporting, and we're going to still do the hourly purchase of the services that makes it nice and neat and tidy. That's kind of about it. So if you want to just go through that packet, basically it'll tell you what we have to do, what we have to report, how we have to evaluate. It also stresses that we have to have no communications with our present provider or any of the people that you think might submit a bid for the services. That way, nobody can say that anybody else got an unfair chance at the bidding process. Okay? If you have any questions, or if you have any suggestions along the way, if you want to change some of the timelines or something, you know, feel free to contact me and we can talk about it. Okay? If you have any other suggestions, let me know.
What's the purpose of the management software program?
Basically, because right now we're doing a lot of the reporting manually. We're doing a lot of the calculations manually. And right now, we report all hours worked, all of the revenue and the types of different revenue, whether it be an agency, low-income rides, any of that. We report all fuel use, fuel consumption, rides in and out of the service area, things like that. That's all done manually on a quarterly basis. So it would just cut some time.
And I think a lot of complaints that we get are around maybe missed rides or people that called and scheduled rides in advance that didn't get picked up. So it seems like there's a he said, she said sort of relationship with the dispatchers, and I think it'd be great to put a lot of those complaints to bed. A lot of the unnecessary calls I think any of us get around complaints would be really nice to manage that.
Another thing I would really like to try, and I don't know how to get this out to the people, a lot of people don't understand that it's not a normal taxi service, it's a shared ride. And with a shared ride, if you get 2 or 3 people calling to be picked up around the same time or in the same vicinity, they're gonna pick up all of those people in the same area because it's shared ride. And that's how the grant is run. And a lot of people don't understand that sometimes they may be waiting, and that causes a lot of complaints and problems too. And I don't know how to get that understood by people. You know, we've tried, but you're gonna run into that always. You know, so I don't know how to make that better either. That's one complaint we're always gonna get.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
So item number 3 then, review and consider for approval a request from the Mead Witter Foundation for permission to proceed with repairs to the memorial clock and bell tower. I'm trying to get to that part here. Is it procurement plans?
I guess I could speak on it. You've seen a number of these over the course of this probably 2-year renovation project. I think it's spanned a lot further than everybody, even those involved in the project. But we thought maybe the last couple were the final ones, but they continue to trickle in. The one thing that I asked the attorney was if the committee could approve up to a certain threshold, so that way future invoices that come through are within some sort of threshold and they're automatically, Mead Witter Foundation's covering the cost of the renovation, so there isn't any cost to the city. So there's kind of a pre-approval that can be made. So I don't know if Attorney Schill has anything to say about that, but that would be something I would suggest maybe considering.
Right,
your approval.
if when you wish to do so, you could approve these specific invoices, and then if you wanted to also approve if there are any further repairs, I guess for sure I would recommend under $5,000, because if it's over $5,000, then there are certain public notice requirements that we might have to do if it's considered public construction. It all depends on really what's being done, but as long as those amounts are going to be continue to be reimbursed by the Mead Witter Foundation, and I would say maybe approved by Public Works Director or something like that, if you don't want them to have to keep coming back for these things. But I guess that's up to you whether you are comfortable with giving them some additional approvals.
This one is for like $720. I guess, refresh my memory, are they all usually around that amount?
There was one that was $24,000
Oh.
for Shopmaster, couple $1,000. I mean, these are probably the smaller ones that we've received, I think, but it depends what's being done. I guess I don't anticipate any more huge amounts coming through, because it might just be more the technical aspects of things, but.
I guess I would be comfortable with like 2,500 as an amount.
Because it's not any taxpayer money,
Right.
so.
Well, I'll make a motion then to approve the request from the Mead Witter Foundation for permission to proceed with the repairs to the memorial clock and bell tower as presented, and also to allow future repairs that are under the amount of $2,500
Be approved by,
to not have to be approved by this committee.
and then maybe approved by Public Works Director, or is that who oversees that?
They are Buildings and Ground Supervisor Matt, so.
Matt Heidman.
Yeah.
Okay, so to be.
So they kind of that works for you?
Nope, that's fine.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 2-0, I guess. Item number 4, review and consider for approval Phase 2 of new emergency generators at Fire Station Number 1, Fire Station Number 2, and City Hall.
Yeah, if you recall, 2 months ago, we came to you to get approval on direct purchase of the generators. Now, as you said, this is phase 2 of the paying of the installation of these generators. Matt worked with the consultant and got 3 proposals, one from Current Technologies, from Econ Electric, and Newton Electric. I believe these are people that the consultant has worked with. And Current Technology is the low bidder at $50,800. It's separated out to 3 different proposals, one for City Hall and then for Station 1 and Station 2. All of this, the funding for this comes from the different outlay budgets for the 3 different facilities. And they were reviewed by Matt and Joe Terry to be complete proposals. The proposals include the removal of the existing generators from the facilities, and then the installation and then all of the required piping and electrical hookups and switches and stuff like that.
It should be noted, if you look at the bids, Current Technologies was far lower than the rest, and I know that some further analysis was done to make sure there wasn't any components missing,
Right.
since the other 2 were much, much higher than
Yep.
Current Technologies, I think, in case that
Current-
alarms anyone.
Yeah, and I think part of that may be that Current Technology is familiar with the different structures because they do a lot of work for, City Hall and the different fire stations. I believe that they're one of them that Matt calls whenever any work needs to be completed, so that may be part of the reasoning for it.
I'll make a motion to approve the Current Technologies low qualified bidder to do the work.
I'll second. Motion and a second to approve. Further discussion? Alderperson Grant.
Yeah, so my question is that it looks like the other estimates that were given, there's actually additional auxiliary power hookups that Current Technologies doesn't offer. So I'm just wondering if that was per design, or did they plan on doing that later? Econ provided 520 amp circuits for power accessories. Current doesn't offer anything else but a 116 amp 3-phase breaker panel. So there's a lot of additional wiring for Newton Electric and for Econ as opposed to Current. And that's why I think that possibly, and I don't think this is all of it, but I think this is, Newton's offering 4 new 100 amp panels, 2 at each fire station, which isn't offered by Current Technologies. And I'm just wondering if they felt like this is, that they needed, or is this, you know what I mean? Did they throw those in there because they thought that this is, you have this generator, so you have the ability to hook up extra power, whether for certain service equipment that they have, where, did Current just not include that, so we would have to pay them for additional hookups later?
I'm trying to remember the spec that was originally put out. I know when they compared the bids, they went back to the original request, so I don't have the original request in front of me.
Yeah, I wasn't included in that either, but I do know that a consultant reviewed both fire stations and the city hall, and they wrote the specs. So yes, you could be right saying that they're providing these additional circuits or whatever that weren't necessarily requested nor required based on the loads and things like that. But I guess I don't, Alderperson Graff, have an answer for you. I'm guessing that they bid what the requirements were and nothing extra.
Okay.
And or it could simply be that those were requested in the request for proposals, and Current Technologies didn't spell out everything that was part of it, you know, they just bid it according to what requested and not spell it out. I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah, and then, like I said, I didn't know if the fire station needed auxiliary power hookups for anything.
I don't want to misspeak, I don't know. I know they were all through the station, and a couple of them mentioned what we needed powered up, and they were, I don't know what the bids all entailed. I don't know who was who even when they came through.
I think we can get clarity on that too for the council meeting, the action at the council, just so I don't have a copy of it, at least in a search in my email here.
Yeah, and I don't want to miss out on it, if it's needed.
Yeah,
You know what I
for
mean?
sure.
Rather do it once, do it right, than to come back and have to do it again.
Yeah, if that's a differentiator that was missed for some reason, definitely.
Keep a motion as is, and then we can hold it out.
Yeah.
Pending further information.
Yeah, just for clarification to make sure.
All right, so there is a motion on the floor to approve the bid through Current Technologies. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 2-0. Item number 5, review and consider for approval a proposal from MSA Professional Services to provide signal timing plans for Lincoln Street and Riverview Expressway intersection improvements.
So we had requested MSA to provide a proposal to us to put together a traffic signal plan at that intersection. Their proposal's attached. They have an estimated total cost of $5,800. The reason there's only one proposal is because MSA has been involved since the traffic impact analysis with reviewing this intersection. They've done the traffic counts along the expressway, including this intersection, and developed the current timing plans that will hopefully be implemented this week. So with that, part of the improvements that are proposed at that intersection include pavement marking and signage updates, a wider westbound right turn onto Lincoln Street, and dedicated left turn phasing with flashing yellow arrows. And so part of that is the traffic signal plan that we would need. Otherwise, the rest of it will be put together and administered in-house. So there is a budget for this project, and staff recommend approval of that proposal. $210,000. Part of the line item for the for this project in the budget, $210,000.
So this whole project is 210,000, or?
Yeah, it was a rough estimation of what the project might take to accomplish.
So
The scope wasn't fully vetted at that point, but
I was confused too because I saw that amount, but that's for the actual, we're not approving the actual project, we're only approving
just-
MSA's funding.
yep, right.
And that'll be coming forward later?
The construction?
Yeah. Or those
Well, the
costs
hope was
are-
that it would occur this summer, but the window of opportunity is starting to narrow as we approach the end of summer. If it works out, it didn't happen yet this year, and maybe some of the improvements could occur yet, but the hard concrete type items may not occur this year.
If I'm not mistaken, there was Public Works Construction Fund included some allocation or allowance for this project? So in terms
Yeah,
of
that's-
future approval for other work, I think that was included in the Public Works Construction Fund.
Yeah, so as part of the Public Works Construction Fund, $210,000 was approved for this particular project. That includes all of those improvements, including the engineering.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from MSA for the signal timing plans at Lincoln Street and Riverview Expressway for the amount of $5,800.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Further
Just to
discussion?
point out to the viewing audience that this is, much needed improvement at
Yeah.
the intersection. There's a lot of concern. Now having the traffic impact analysis completed gives us a good data picture of what's going on there. But I think, just to provide more relief to the turning movements that are happening, it should hopefully provide a lot of benefit to the public once we get to the point of instituting those improvements.
Definitely.
So is the cost of the $210,000, that's the cost for the project, this is addition $5,800 in addition to the budget item, or is this an estimated cost, the true cost isn't known yet?
So the $5,800 is part of what was budgeted, so it's part of the $210,000 budgeted item.
Mhm.
So the $5,800 gets us a signal plan, which gets us a step closer to construction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not requesting more money. The city engineer position only has authority up to $5,000 to, if necessary. Otherwise, certainly bring it in for review and approval, but it is part of a budgeted plan project.
And at no time is there any cost estimates, as of right now, there's no cost estimates to the project?
Not more specific than what was budgeted in last fall, which is derived at
Just estimates.
$210,000, yeah.
And Quick Trip's on the hook for 50% up to $130,000. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Well, it says the estimated cost is $130, but they're gonna pay 50% if it's more than $130. I mean,
Right. Yeah. Oh, I thought it was up to, I thought their cost was not to exceed 130. Okay, so it's 50% of whatever the total project
Yeah.
cost is. Okay. But it was originally estimated 130,000.
Right.
That's right. Okay, sorry.
Okay, the motion is to approve. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 2-0. Item number 6, review and consider approval of a sidewalk and parking easement at St. Luke's Lutheran Church along 10th Street South for the 2018 sidewalk project.
So there's an exhibit attached that kind of speaks to it a bit more clearly. As part of the 10th Street sidewalk project, the proposed location for that sidewalk is going to be on the east side of 10th Street. And at the St. Luke's property, there's existing angle parking that resides in the boulevard area and extends beyond into the private property. And so, we were faced with an option to, what do we do with connecting up the public sidewalk? So there's existing sidewalk that's already there in front of the angle parking, and working with Chuck Gibbons and John Klinkforth from the church, work through an easement proposal. So this option would provide a limited permanent easement for the sidewalk and even the remaining angle parking that resides on private property, but would allow us to connect up to the rest of the public sidewalk that would be installed. And in exchange for the permanent easement, they're requesting 8 sidewalk panels. They're 6 foot by 6 foot panels. 8 panels along that stretch of easement, 241 feet of easement area to be replaced as part of the sidewalk project. That value of the concrete work is estimated to be about $1,300.
Do you guys want to comment on it all? Or?
No, we're pleased to work with the city. Attorney Schill and Joe Eichstadt and the staff has been very receptive in discussions with the entire project that keep in place something that's been there for 50 years since the street was originally constructed. So appreciate their consideration and listening to the church and what its needs are.
Well, make a motion then to approve staff's recommendation to approve the easement as presented and have it recorded at the Register of Deeds.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries 2-0. I always ask opposed, even though I don't.
Sorry about it.
Item number 7, consideration of a resolution to accept or reject an offer for sale for property located in the West Side Industrial Park, Outlot 1 of WCCSM number 10215, located near the corner of Industrial Street and 25th Avenue North. A declaration of restriction for the West Side Industrial Park provides the city the ability to match an offer for sale whenever land is proposed to be sold in the park.
So you have the offer sale and a map, and you can see where part of that, the Air Communications land is proposed to be sold to UniFirst. However, because of the deed of restrictions that are in that park, the city has the right to, basically like a right of first refusal, we can purchase it at that agreed upon price, or decline it and allow the sale to go through. So city staff is recommending that the city not exercise that option and to allow the sale to go through to UniFirst. I don't know if anyone has any questions about it?
I'll make a motion that we reject the offer to sale and then move forward, or allow them to move forward with the sale landing first.
I'll second. Motion and a second to reject the sale. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 2-0. Item number 8, review and consider for approval a request to designate the $40,000 development fee from North Point Senior Housing Development to establish a pilot housing development program.
I guess that would be. I believe at least a couple of you are familiar that Alderman Kellogg had made a referral, because I have been working on this for a really long time, like 6 months ago, I think, on investigating a program similar to the Ridgefield Rediscovered program. The basic premise of the program is that it provides cash grants to encourage redevelopment of residential lots within the community. We're a little bit different than Ridgefield. Ridgefield is a community that is completely surrounded by other municipalities that don't have the ability to grow. So in an attempt to restore some of their housing stock, that's why they've launched this program. So although we're different in that respect, we face some of the same issues where our housing stock in some locations is older, it is in need of rehab, or it's in need of replacement, to be quite honest. So the thought behind a potential program is that we would identify either vacant lots or lots that have homes on them that are in need of rehabilitation or being torn down, actually, and then a new home being constructed. And then this grant would be the incentive for someone to take on that project. The actual program would be developed over the next couple of months and would be brought back to the Finance Committee for their review and approval prior to the program being rolled out. But one of the big problems we are facing is how do we fund a pilot program to see if this is something of interest to the community. So with the recent North Point development, and it's tied to housing, it's going to be establishing new senior housing, which in theory will help create other housing opportunities elsewhere in the community where maybe some seniors are moving out of their homes. So it kind of seems like a logical connection that we're trying to address the entire housing needs in the community. So the proposal is basically to set aside that $40,000 development fee, and then the next item on the agenda is to apply for basically matching funds through the county economic development funding request to create a pool of money of $80,000. This would, again, be expected as a pilot program. The numbers of what that cash grant would be, whether it's $5,000 and $10,000 as I had just put in the referral, or if it's a different number, again, that would be developed over time. But really just seeking approval to try and find a funding stream to see if this program is worth pursuing.
And I would add, I think there's a great opportunity when you drive around and see county tax deeded properties that have been demolished. We see a number of fire houses that were lost to fires that are still for sale, that just kind of sit there vacant. And I think there's a number of neighborhoods around, blocks even in each of your districts, that could potentially gain from a new home that's constructed to certain modern standards that could potentially turn a block or turn a neighborhood. So I think this would be a bit of a progressive step for the city to try to change some of the single-family home dynamics in some neighborhoods across the city. And as Adam said, there's a lot of details we worked out. I know, Scott, you've brought this up a couple of times. You've been to Richfield and sent me videos and pictures of some of the homes that were developed there. And you know, I think that neighborhoods of Rapids could really stand to gain from a program like this if we could, again, find a funding source, which we may very well have one here. And then if we get the county on board to support it, there might be good reason to get some of those tax deeded properties that the county owns back onto the tax roll with some development actually in place.
And if I can add, the housing study that was completed in 2016 obviously identified our housing stock as in need of help in some areas, and it actually noted that, and I'm going to forget the exact number because I forgot to look it up beforehand, but there are hundreds of vacant or underutilized lots within the city. So again, if you're just focusing on those specifically alone, or the tax deeded parcels, there's plenty of opportunity within the community without necessarily looking at encouraging tear downs or, and again, I think we need to target certain areas of the city so that developers are not just utilizing this offsite costs for new construction on the periphery of the community where it was going to happen anyway. It's really targeted investment is the goal of the program.
Adam and I called Richfield and talked about the history of the program, and they said it's a win-win for everybody. The city, people moving in there, substandard housing was eliminated. They did, I don't know, maybe 25 homes a year in some cases, and they set standards. It might be a 3-bedroom, 2-car garage, 3-car garage. They expect the type of, you have to present a plan, and then you have to have it, what type of landscaping that you're going to have. So, and it brought up the whole neighborhood. So you get a substandard home or an empty lot that maybe a house was burned down, all of a sudden the homes in the area started to improve. And we keep talking about how are we going to do this. Here's an example of a city who's done it for many years and has had success, and we can at least put our, I guess, a big toe in the water and see how it works, because then you're going to get revenue too. Right now it's an empty lot, and so I think it's really advantageous to attempt to try it, because again, it's a proven program, at least in this city, and I think it could be here once we get traction and see how it works. So.
Well, one, I totally agree that if we can put some sort of standards to the housing that would be built, I mean, I think that only increases property values, and I think looking at different parcels around the community only helps to identify. And I believe it was Marshfield that did the same thing, and then they turned around and worked with one developer, and he developed those, you know, lots, and I think it ended up being about 200 houses, single-family homes that over the next 3 years will be built in the city of Marshfield because of something like this. And that was going back to the argument about 17th Avenue. Was my question was, is why don't we look at a single level dwelling and try to build a nice subdivision in that parking lot, or in that vacant lot, I'm sorry, as opposed to a multi-complex. And I do agree, there's a lot of need, and we'd be able to move forward with a plan like this, like a comprehensive plan to really attack that. And I went to a USDA summit that we were invited to, and I had the opportunity to go down there. There's also USDA money that's available for something like this that partner with HUD and Habitat for Humanity, and they already have like housings that you're talking about where you specific to a certain neighborhood or specific to lots, and all of these different programs work together to develop this housing and bring up the value of homes as opposed to like multi-complex. So the USDA is doing stuff like this in other communities, and my only other comment is Reggie involved with it? And
As of up to date.
What I'm thinking is that this could be bigger than what a small, you know, this could be a comprehensive plan throughout the community where we get Reggie involved, we get the USDA involved, we get Habitat for Humanity and try to look at a comprehensive plan, and then that's the opportunity for us to reach out to a contractor or somebody that would be willing to take on this type of housing development to say if, like an RFP to say, this is our projected spots that we're looking at, this is the type of layout, or 3-bedroom, 2-stall garage, this is what you need to have on it, these are, recommended. Would anybody be willing to develop this? And then over the course of years, it keeps local contractors busy. And it also addresses a lot of the single-family home needs that we need. So I think it's a good idea. I would just like to see other parts put into it, because like you said, there are other programs around. And I can't remember, Zach, you were there, was that USD, would you remember what other communities they said that actually kind of created this?
Well, we finally met the threshold to participate, so that's where it's new to this area. I
Right.
think that's why they were sharing that update.
Yep.
But in most cases, it was around single-family homes that needed, that couldn't afford, owners that couldn't afford maintenance. So there might be some other USDA dollars that could come into this program though too.
I did talk to her about it.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name. Very nice lady, but
Out of point office, I think.
And she had sent me some information about this back in July, right around the 4th of July, but I do think this is an opportunity and it's a good idea. I just would like to not be a one-off program, not that this is, but just wanted to throw those recommendations out there.
Yeah, in my mind, if nothing else, this shows whether or not there is a local need or desire or support for this type of program. And if there is an appetite for it, then I think that you get a little bit of a track record in approaching a USDA or other outside funders and saying, we know this works, we know there's an appetite for it, so we need more money basically. And then we can hopefully start to bring in those outside dollars from USDA and others.
See, you didn't make me do it. I'll make a motion to approve designating that $40,000 developmental fee from North Point Senior Housing to this pilot housing development program.
I'll second. Motion and second to approve.
Do you make any sort of additions to that motion based on other involvements from Reggie or from other groups? Or it doesn't have to be, I suppose it really would have to be contingent on any other group?
Yeah, this is just designating the money as we develop the program, and we would bring that program back again to this committee before rolling it out, and then that's, I think, when we could, if there is any additional approvals needed to bring in those outside funds, that we could. But now that I know that's a desire of the committee, I can certainly.
Then you can develop the plan.
Right, and then try to get that and bring it back to you guys.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 2-0. Agenda item number 9, review and consider for approval a 2019 Wood County Economic Development Funding Request application for a pilot housing development program.
And again, I kind of covered it, but basically this is, again, trying to get a little bit more money. $40,000 is kind of a drop in the bucket, but in talking with Jason Gruenberg, the timing was right. The county is developing their budget. They have considered, the Marshfield program was mentioned, the county had supported that with some funding through their Economic Development Board and some other entities up there. So to try and make our dollars go further, seeking those matching funds. So just searching or looking for permission to apply for that through the county.
I'll make a motion to approve that funding request as stated.
I'll second it.
Motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 10, request from Central Wisconsin BMX for approval to install a new sign on the land they lease from the city at the corner of Highway 54 and County Highway W. Any improvement on the property which exceeds $500 needs city approval. A sign permit has been applied for.
So you have the materials, they have a sign that's, I think it's the Mid-State sign, right? That's
It's a
being-
Mid-State deck sign on the corner
being
by,
donated, and they want to put it up where their present sign is. And Mark is here from BMX, if you have any questions of him. I believe the sign permit would be granted, right?
Yeah, the sign does meet all the requirements of the zoning district where the sign would be located, so if the committee approves it, a sign permit will be issued.
So is there power that needs to be run to it, or?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I've already talked to electrician and power and water and light. And we're gonna approach that when we get it in, but we'll get the permit for that and all that stuff. And they said they can get power to anything. And we'll pay, of course, pay for everything, put it in.
Obviously, no reason to not approve it then.
And we are gonna fix the sign too, because there's some lights out on it too. So there won't be no ice or nothing there, so.
I think one of the purposes of why we brought it to committee is it's still city property and we have a lease with the BMX for that site, so we wanted to make sure there was still consensus for an improvement of the scale to occur there. And Sue, I think there was a question on lease terms. I don't know if that item is gonna be coming back to the committee.
Right, the lease actually just rolls over from year to year,
That's right,
and
okay.
I think they prepaid for 10 years and that's up, so.
Yeah, we already,
We
the next 10 years.
It's $1 a year,
Yeah.
so, yeah. So I guess maybe then with the approving the sign, you might want to mention including electrical, running of electricity or electrical hookup.
We'll get the permits for
Yeah.
that when we get to that point and stuff there, but I just found out they got their sign ordered today, the Misstate Tech sign. They just got all their new signs ordered today, so I just wanted to hit it all off, so when we get the sign, then I can put it in right away, get it done as soon as possible. We use a sign for advertising our sponsors for the races, and of course, being that computer operated sign, now it's gonna be nicer, we can promote like Assumption High School, when they have their dance, wintertime, right now in wintertime, we can't get at the sign to change it. So I mean, we're gonna help try to promote some of the other stuff during wintertime. Summertime, we don't promote anything other than track. But we possibly, because that'll scroll, we could possibly do some other promotions, and stuff there. But it's only for the track, it's not making money on anybody else, if that's any questions there, like we're not selling a signed sponsor.
Sure.
Anything like that off the road.
I'll make a motion to, are we approving the permit itself?
No, that's a step level one. It's just you're basically approving to allow the improvement on the city property.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the request from Central Wisconsin BMX for the installation of a new sign on the land they lease from the city at corner Highway 54 and County Highway W.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Is that location good for that?
The track.
No, the
Sign.
sign.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
we're
it's
gonna put it
visible.
directly right behind that other sign, so we can put that up and then get it up and running, then we'll take down the other sign.
Do we have any limitations on the sign as far as distance off the road?
Yes. And this, it's basically 5 feet off the property line, which this, you can see where the path is. So if you were to kind of follow that curve, that is approximately the right way. So
Okay.
it will meet the 5
Hopefully
foot
got you all
setback.
the right measurements there, that looks good.
Yep. I'll verify it before issuing the permit, but it shouldn't be.
You said it's all within zoning code anyways.
Yep, size and location.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 2-0. Item number 11, consider a special events application submitted by Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce for an event called Hometown Halloween to be held from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on Friday, October 12th. The application includes a request to close 2nd Street from East Grand Avenue to Oak Street from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m.
We hosted this event last year, and so it's really no change. The time is just a half-hour difference. We went a half-hour earlier, and closing a half-hour earlier, and we can pull the barricades and stuff too, so that's not a problem. We had about 1,000 people for the first one, and if you all remember, the weather was kind of maybe iffy, but it was a big hit, and the families really enjoyed it, and I think it was a nice, something safe and fun for the families in the community to do in a short time. I don't know if anyone from here got to attend it, but I think it was fun. Not a big Halloween person, but we had some really unique ideas, and they had stuff for the parents too, and handouts and stuff, so even if you don't have kids and you get hurt, come on, no. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Do you need specifics like street closure and all that, or? This motion, I'll make a motion to approve the event.
And I'll second. Motion is second to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. Thank you. Item number 12, consider an application for a temporary Class B retailer's license submitted by Our Lady Queen of Heaven Parish for their parish picnic on August 26th. I guess I don't remember one last year or the year before.
You can sign those, can't you, yourself?
Yes, but the ordinance suggests that
if there's time.
if there's time, they go to the committee, and this would be, this is basically why the temporary Class B retailer's license is offered in the state of Wisconsin for this purpose. So I would see no reason to deny it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Motion is second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry, aye.
Okay. So motion does carry 2-0. Item number 13 is beverage operator license applications, which we did not review ahead of time.
No, I saw him sitting there, I forgot to grab them.
Paul usually reminds us.
I'll make a motion to approve the new and renewal operator licenses.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 2-0. Item number 14, audit of the bills, which we were sent.
Yep.
Friday. Thank you, Paul. And Tim.
I didn't have any questions.
No. I'll make a motion then to approve check numbers 73068 through 73377 and manual checks 99721 through 99737.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 2-0. Item number 15, set next meeting date, which looks like September 4th would be the first Tuesday at 5.
Works for me.
Hopefully that'll work for Jake. September 4th at 5. Item number 16. In open session, the committee will vote to go into closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Sub A, in closed session, the committee will discuss negotiations and strategy regarding a development agreement, easements, and other agreements with the Southwood County YMCA. Sub B, in closed session, the committee will discuss a request from Wisconsin Rapids Community Theater Incorporated to lease space in the Centralia Center. Sub C, the committee may return to open session and take action or make recommendations regarding item 11A and 11B, or may adjourn in closed session.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session under the closed session statute.
I'll second. Any discussion on that? Roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye. And we will be in closed session.